Hello, Nari McDiarmid for miningnews.net, and it's great to speak with Glenn Poole, Managing Director of Firetail Resources. And Glenn, you're fresh from making two acquisitions in the gold space. But before we get to that, what's the key message you'd like people to understand about Firetail?
Yeah, so Firetail, we're quite aggressive on the, I guess, development and entering new areas. That's why we're in Peru. That's why we're in Newfoundland and Canada. And entering into the US market is something that we're very comfortable with. There's lots of opportunity here, so it was leveraging off relationships that we'd built over the decades of the experience of the management team really paid dividends in this transactions.
Well, can you talk us through the highlights of these recent acquisitions in the US?
Yeah, for sure. So in Nevada is the Excelsior Springs project. So that is a historic gold mine that's produced in the past and has had iterations in the late 19th century of people doing some open pit mining. More recently, with the gold resurgence, drilling over the last few years by the previous owners and the vendors has highlighted, I guess, the strike potential, which currently sits at about 3 kilometers. We've got 58 meters at 4 grams, including high grade cores of 6.1 meters at 16. So, just an example of the type of ground that we're dealing with. So, it's a broad shear zone, 3 kilometers long at the moment, open at depth, only really drilled down to about 70 meters. The second project up in South Dakota that lives in the shadow of a giant. So the Homestake mine, formerly Barrick, I guess what would be now, produced over 42 million ounces. And this is, I guess, an extension of that Homestake trend. We've got 110 kilometers of banded iron, which hosted the same mineralization up at the Homestake mine. Within our ground, we've got five sort of high potential trends with amazing rock chips, sort of over 100 grams in some areas, of highlighting where previous work's been done, historic mines that have produced, eye-watering grades that haven't been followed up in the modern eye. So the opportunity there is to find these, big deposits, sitting undiscovered at the moment.
So, with that in mind, what's ahead in terms of news flow that investors should be keeping an eye out for, Glenn?
Yeah, for sure. So we're still active on the copper front as well. So Peru with the BHP Explore program, we've still got a very active geophysics program and geochemistry going on down there, targeting that Antikythera target we defined earlier in the year. Up in Newfoundland, we've got 3D IP going on, which will define, I guess, drill targets at the Governor's prospect, as well as the wider EM prospect. We've got geochemistry and prospecting boots on the ground, seeing what we can see at surface down there. Once these new gold things are settled, first thing first, it'll be drilling at Excelsior Springs, leveraging off, an extensive amount of drilling that's already been done there. Infilling, extending, like I said, it's still very shallow and lots of opportunity for growth.
So, in your opinion, Glenn, what does success look like for Firetail down the track?
So for us, it's building up that pipeline of, expanding existing targets, which we've got a plethora of, as well as defining new ones, which is what we've got in Peru and in Newfoundland as well. So Newfoundland, we're only scratching the surface again with what we're seeing up there and just in the northern part. We've only flown half the tenements with EM and that uncovered six new targets, just figure out what's in the other half of the tenement, yet to be discovered. Same in Peru. We're expanding our scope. We're looking for big things, which is why BHP are there. They're chasing porphyries as well. So there's opportunity for growth across the portfolio as well as known deposits.
Well, there's plenty on your plate, so you've got some busy months ahead, but thanks for taking the time to speak today. Glenn, great to talk to you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.